Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org for more info, or you can always email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have Boade Mandeng. We'll be discussing his wonderful book, Rise from the Blue, available for purchase through Amazon, Barnes & Noble. But guys, listen, if you want to gather everything that Boade has to offer, do yourself a favor and head directly to his personal site. And that's boademandeng.org. BOADEMANDENG.org. There you'll find more information on Boade himself, more information on this fantastic book, Rise from the Blue, as well as find hyperlinks set up to take you to the purchasing page. So one more time, that's boademandeng.org. And listen, I will say that Boade was brought to our network, People of Distinction, today by some of the best publishers in the business, AuthorFlex Media. So if you have a book that you'd like moved, make sure you're giving yourself the best gift you could possibly give, and you move it through AuthorFlex. You can find out more information on them at authorflexmedia.com. I'm really looking forward to this discussion. Without further ado, let's jump right in. Boade, first and foremost, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you very much for being a guest. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Benji. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Now, Boade, we're very much looking forward to this. I think a book of this magnitude is really something that, A, is perfectly timed, given a lot of the social and political unrest that we have here in the States. But also, I think, again, when we raise our awareness, when the conversations are being had, regardless of which side of the spectrum you fall on, awareness and communication are key. And I think your experience is going to be something that resembles so many others. So I'm really looking forward to picking your brain, learning your experience, some words of wisdom that you can relay, and really getting that conversation started. Now, before we go into the book, Boade, let's hold off slightly. Start by telling our listening audience a little bit more about yourself and your background, please.
Absolutely. I'm an American citizen, but born outside of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
That means I came here as a grown man. Maybe not so grown. I was a young adult. In my 30s, I came to the U.S. So there were a few things that I found pretty much appealing in the U.S. that kept me and encouraged me to become a citizen. And over time, I know that everything, not everything in the strict sense of the word, but a lot of things were going the way I expected until recently that things seem to start turning a different direction than what we all would have hoped for. So that kind of brought me the inspiration or the experience that I relate to that made me write the book, Rise from the Blue.
Mm-hmm. Now, Boade, if it's okay, can we go a little bit more in details? Share with us some of those experiences that really spurred you in this direction.
Most importantly, it is a social context that at the beginning, I wasn't sure exactly what it would be like to live in a foreign country. But upon coming to the U.S., things were actually much better than, like I said earlier, what I had expected. I was able to step up my social, I would say my social status, given what I came into the U.S. without anything. Over the years, I was able to make up, and I would say, and yeah, I go through the ladder of society, and everything seems fine until recently, with a lot of unrest. Those are the things that at times make me worry about what direction the society is taking. That is not the direction that I initially hoped for.
Boade, without further ado, let's go right into the book, man. Rise from the Blue. Tell us a little bit more about your narrative.
The book depicts the main character in John Nobola. John Nobola is a little bit reflection of my own experience. He is an immigrant that coming to the U.S. has high hopes of living in a free society. But the same story that I keep saying over and over again, he end up hitting the ceiling of delusion because there's so much in recent years that have turned society and a lot of forces that make things worse. Society is turned into a chaotic environment, and John Nobola is not happy about it. So he decides to take a stand, which is mostly political, and eventually he likes to address the issue with family and friends. And the stand is to try and raise awareness about the wrong things that have been done to the American society, which under normal circumstances is considered one of the best or the mirror of the world.
We've already started to go into inspiration in terms of your experience. Now, inspiration with regards to writing, that's really where I want to touch up on next. Talk to our listening audience. When it comes to creative writing, was this something that was always a hobby of yours? Were there artists that inspired you growing up? Talk to our listening audience about where that love for creative writing comes from, and really how it helped you embark upon the journey.
After my writing inspiration is more based on a culture that I grew up dealing with as a young student in Africa. I mean, in my family, we didn't have a lot of intellectuals. My father and my mother didn't attend any of the European schools. So essentially, it was a little bit of a challenge for me to deal with two different cultures, the African culture and the Western culture that I was going to learn as I went to school. So it was a little bit of encouragement from my parents that focusing on the Western education was so important. So as I grew up, it was it was part of my daily life to be very, very much drained into reading and studying. And I have a lot of writing that under normal circumstances on my free time, I put down that don't necessarily relate to writing books, but I tend to very much I like to put down all the things that I notice around me, and part of that aspect of my life that I wanted to kind of put a note on by writing the book, and because of the importance that I had, or that I thought the situation I was living in that I described area had for me, I thought that particular page of my writing needed needed to be a little bit put in records. So I decided to write it as a book.
Again, here in the line with Boade Mandeng, we're discussing his wonderful book, Rise from the Blue, available for purchase through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or directly through his personal site, boademandeng.org. Now, Boade, next question that I'd love to go into, and it's going to be a very broad question here, but please entertain me and my listening audience by attempting to answer. Boade, by no means do you speak for an entire community of migrants that have come over to the States, right? But since we have you here on the line, I want to take this opportunity for any words of wisdom, either from an immigrant's perspective, coming over to America and what to expect about that facade of the American dream that is always told, and then what to expect once you get here, or B, from an American standpoint in dealing with migrants. What are some words of wisdom that you can offer from either perspective to really help move things in the right direction?
What I want to say mostly to migrants is my perspective about America is that it is a society that we all have an appeal for. Mm-hmm. When we come to America, we expect so much. But it's not a given that everything is going to be so easy. And as a result, whenever difficulty arises, doesn't mean that we have to stop thinking about the dream. The dream is something that we have to consider as a process, and the process is what we get from the rules of the society. And the thing about the rules of the society is that a lot of times when we want to grab the dream, we forget about the respect of the rules. And this is what may have happened in recent years and have led to a lot of issues with division in the society, people disrespecting others, and some believing that maybe they have a better shot at the dream, or they have a better say about what the dream is supposed to be like than others. It could be people from the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, as long as their way of looking at the American dream is focused on what is best for them and not for others. We are going to continue to live the same chaos. So hopefully, the message that I'm trying to relay being that in a democracy, the voice of everybody counts. So that message needs to be understood as we may be different, but at the end, what matters is how we put all our differences together to make America a better society.
Boy, I love what you just said. And really that last thing that you touched up on. Our differences are really what make up the society that we live in. And guys, listen, it's one of the oldest cliches in the book, but one of the biggest descriptors when we talk about America, one of the biggest descriptions that I've ever heard when I was learning about it in school is America is a melting pot, right? It's filled with people from different backgrounds, from different countries, from different ethnicities. And somewhere along the way, we stopped celebrating that, which doesn't really make much sense because when you really look around, who here in America has not migrated here? I mean, if you go further enough back in the generation, nobody that's here was actually born here. Everybody migrated, right? Unless you're a Native American, and they're really the only ones that have a true claim to that. But I love what you're saying there, Boade, because again, at some point throughout the journey, we've gotten away from that notion. And many of us have started to look at this as this is our country and no one else is allowed. And we've kind of started to build a fence and draw a line. And now we're taking sides, which I don't really understand where that comes from or why that is the case, given how we've started. I think it's really, let's call a spade a spade. It's very hypocritical because everybody that is here has migrated here. So now we're starting to turn our backs on migrants that are coming. Doesn't really make much sense. But I love what you said there, Boade. Thank you very much for articulating that. Listen, as we start to close out of this fantastic interview, man, last couple of questions here. Boade, who is your intended audience and what are you hoping to see them take from your book?
Well, I hope everybody that is interested in our daily life. I mean, the book is focused on current events, meaning that I wrote it based on observation of a lot of things that are happening around us on a daily basis. So there are a lot of things that I see mostly targeted towards anybody that is interested in everyday actual events.
And what would you say was a highlight for you in writing the book, Boade? Or if not a highlight, maybe something that surprised you that you weren't expecting before you began on the journey?
Like I said, the book is based upon actual events. So somehow I kind of make a close description of most of the things that I live. So it's a little bit a perspective book. And okay, maybe what I can say is what comes at the end of the book as far as putting opposing parties or opposing characters together in a way of coming together to find solution to things that oppose them. So I think that's the one thing that I wasn't really focused on at the beginning.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, guys, listen, I could stay here and I could talk to Boade for hours. As I said when I first started this interview, this is a topic of discussion that is very close and near and dear to my heart. Given the background that I come from, given the community that I was raised in, so many people, myself included, but so many people that I know have similar experiences where they migrated to this country under that false pretense of the American dream, right? They were lured into it only to get here and realize, you know, listen, it's called a dream because you have to be asleep to believe in it, right? And there is so many powerful nuances when it comes to this book and the experience of an immigrant when they come to this country. And listen, if you don't know an immigrant, if you aren't someone that comes from that background, comes from that community, the best thing that I can say, in addition to purchasing this book, Rise from the Blue, is go out and find someone that is. Have a conversation with someone that has migrated here. Learn about their background. Understand why they came here and what they were pursuing when they did. Migrants are not the enemy here, folks. Okay? We've started to build up this false narrative as if immigrants are the reason why life is difficult or the reason why we have a shortage of jobs or a shortage of this or whatever the case may be. I don't know who began that narrative, but I can tell you it's false. And it is.
It's hard to understand because you said it earlier. We all migrants after all.
Absolutely.
We all come from migrant families, don't we?
Mm-hmm. And I think that's such an important thing to remember. It's like, listen, maybe you were born here. Maybe your parents were born here. Maybe even their parents were born here and you're a few generations removed. But I promise you, if you look further enough back in your lineage, you're going to find you weren't here in America if you go back far enough, right? You also were an immigrant to this country. So let's not be the first to cast stones when we live in a glass house, right? Let's stop there. Let's make sure that we understand that. Listen, I'm going to end right now because, as I said, I could talk to Boade for hours. Okay, you all know what you have to do. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, boademandeng.org are the places you have to go. Rise from the Blue is the title you have to pick up, and Boade Mandeng is the author you have to thank for bringing this fantastic book to your table. Let's grow, let's develop, let's educate ourselves. And it starts with this amazing narrative. Boade, this has been an absolute pleasure, truly an honor. I really mean that. Thank you once again for being a guest with us on People of Distinction.
Thank you, Benji. Thank you. It was my pleasure talking to you today.